You know, if you're going to increase the amount of a factor of production in this country, say labor, then it's going to be possible to produce more, so that you know that the production possibility set is going to move out. So what I've drawn there are two production possibility sets, one before the change, the other after the change. But it could move out in a variety of ways, and Rybczynski's theorem, if you know the proof, the picture is right above it, says that if you look at a point on the production possibility set such as A with a fixed marginal rate of transformation, and you look for the place where there's the same marginal rate of transformation on the moved out production set, then in fact that's going to be associated with an increase in the production of one good and an absolute decrease in the production of the other good, if you hold output prices constant. And to do this right, I have to slip in a little factor price equalization and talk to you about cost functions, and that's very beautifully done. Chapter 15 of Moskale, Winston, and Green. And to do that well, you have to know the early chapters, which some of my students don't know very well, I should tell you. And you have to know about support functions and conditional factor demand functions. So in any case, the point is that this moves out in a very special way. Now, I think what I'm going to do is go ahead a tiny bit. So the picture on top is the world that Rybczynski is looking at, and this is what he would have drawn if he would have drawn the right pictures. You start at A. If prices in the world remain the same, you would move to A prime, which is down and to the right. Okay, so that's the place on the production possibility set where the prices are the same as they are in the equilibrium at A. The equilibrium at A is chosen because you also have preferences for the agent which determines it. But in fact, the prices are going to change, and Rybczynski talks all through that. Rybczynski doesn't consider the small country case particularly where world prices are fixed. And he said, yes, prices are going to change, and they're going to change, well, they're going to fall for commodity one. They're going to move up this production possibility set, and you can really think about the change that's associated with a change in the amount of factor, in this case L. There are assumptions that are made about which production process uses L relatively intensively, but we're not going to go there. And because of these price changes, you would move from A to A prime if prices didn't change, but prices do change, so you're going to move from something like A to A double prime. But you will never move to a place on the new production possibility set where the amount of X that you produced originally decreases. The amount of price effect that you can have is circumscribed, provided, and this is all Rybczynski, he has all of this, provided there are no inferior goods. In fact, there's a generalization of Rybczynski, and the general, it's not a general, it's corollary of Rybczynski, and it says that if this is a trading country, and you have homothetic preferences for the representative consumer in the country, then the ways that demand and supply will change are as reflected in the picture below. And that is to say that the supply function will move to the right more than the demand function moves to the right. Okay. All of this is to introduce you to a paper which does the following. It considers the world where people trade. The world where people trade is imperfectly represented in the top panel. That's a world where the home country, which is the one with the lower production possibility set, at the prices that are indicated at which, along which people trade, will produce at A. The foreign country will produce at A hat, given these prices. To produce at some prices and maximize profit, you have to be maximizing revenue, so that's what you're seeing there. And then they will trade. The home country will trade from A to B. The foreign country will take the complement of that trade from A hat to B hat. This now is the Heckscher-Ohlin model. This is not the Heckscher-Ohlin model with identical preferences. If they had identical preferences, then they would both have to be picking along the same ray from the origin, because they'd have to have the same marginal rates of substitution. This is a little generalization of the Heckscher-Ohlin model. Now, one can ask of this generalized Heckscher-Ohlin model, is it always the case that the world works something like it works in the one consumer closed economy world? And the answer is, there are some cases it does, and there are some cases that it doesn't. And there are cases that it doesn't, which are bloody nice cases. There's really nothing very objectionable about them. What's really key to get this difference from the standard Rybczynski theorem, to get qualitatively very different results, is that aggregate demand slopes not down the way that you're used to drawing it, the way that it was drawn in the previous panel, but upward. And general equilibrium demand functions have a way of easily sloping upward. So if you look at the panel below the one I've just talked about, you have a production possibility set, you have some initial prices, and I've picked, and it's not an accident, preferences where there's a very low elasticity of substitution, because that affects how these things will slope. If you've done all of your Moskale, Winston, and Green problems, you know that kind of thing. So in this situation, at prices Px, normalize the price of y at 1, a relatively low price for x. You have to give up a lot of x to get a little bit of the commodity y. With these Leontief preferences, the choice is made at the lower L that you have there, that point, okay? And then if the price of commodity 1 rises, then of course production changes. It changes from A to A prime. The income of this, in this country is derived from the revenue, from the values of the initial endowments. And what's available is what's on this price line Px prime. And if you've looked at it, if you look at it, you will note that in fact the demand for commodity 1 is high when the price is high. It's high when the price is high, because when the price is high, you're rich, because you are producing this and trading it away, right? So very easy to get situations where you have this upward sloping demand.